Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, and I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite Creator. And I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. And with that said, hi, how y'all doing today? From live from South Georgia. It's almost 30 Eastern Daylight Time. And so, as many of the folks know, my subscribers and dear friends and colleagues and folks in the chat room, two of my favorite ladies just showed up, Miss Chloe and Miss Michelle. How y'all doing this morning? I hope you all are doing as well as possible. Um, and the song is it's Jethro Tull for Queen and Country in the long finding day for Queen and Country. And I was like, God, dog. But so why is this Queen and Country stuck in my head? And there's all, of course, we got all this politics that's going on now, and Cherry, how are you? I don't think I've seen you in a while. I hope this finds you as well as possible, and hopefully doing great. Um, Queen and Country, and I'm like, tonight on Robert's show, I was talking, about how, why do Robert and I do the show to begin with, right? To bring history to, and me having Native American blood and so forth. It's like, yeah, but I don't think it would matter if I had Indian blood in me or not. I think I would still want to follow this, that line. And what the Americas, um, our country's very new compared to the rest of the world. I mean, even compared to the Indian nations, America is just a drop in the bucket, because native peoples have been on this continent for thousands of years, where the white people showed up and they established the United States of America, which is only a couple of hundred years old, So we are very young in that respect. So Queen and Country, the the slogan of the Brits, for Queen and Country, we're gonna fight till the end for the Queen and Country, okie doke. The Brits have had their share of wars. Plus, they've stuck their nose into India and all these other places around. Australia wouldn't be there hardly if it weren't for the Brits, and the fact that it was used as a, penal colony, much like the state of Georgia where I live. Hey, Scratch. But the idea of queenry popped in my head. I was like, we've got a bunch of queens in this country, and President Obama and Michelle Michael, talk about a queen, you know, and country, but we don't have the same kind of feeling for America. And in the last bunch of years, the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the Republic, not a democracy, and to the Republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, indivisible with life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. I think I screwed it up. Pretty sure I did. But the Pledge of Allegiance. So we don't say the Pledge of Allegiance. And so, what is current society's allegiance? Is it the Queen and country? You know what I mean? I mean, even Spain, Spain, their allegiance to the land, and Portugal and Italy, I mean, they've got this thing about their country. What is it about the United States? These new kids coming in, you listen to some of these college kids and, well, I live in the United States. Yeah, well, so are you proud? Well, I don't know if I could live someplace and blah, blah, blah. That, so their allegiance, when you listen to some of these folks, I don't think they have an allegiance. Well, I don't know. Would you fight for the American? Well, I would fight, for the transgender and for the sex kids and the cis kid and the this one and the that one and oh my God. But but where is their what is their allegiance to? And it seems like in a lot of ways, and it could be that it and probably is, but it could be that there's so much attention in the transgender area thingy and the gay and the this and the that, that their allegiance seems to be gender related. Well, I'm a cis. Well, I'm a this. Well, I'm a that. But where's your allegiance? Well, I don't care because, but I've got my gender. Okay, but where is what's your allegiance? What do what do what about for me, it's like I'm lived in the state of Georgia now for uh, 50 years. Yeah, at least. So my allegiance in a way is to the state of Georgia, even though I don't like what some of these legislatures have done and some of the rules that are still in effect. But because I live here in this state, my home is here, I have a particular allegiance to the state of Georgia. Because I live in the southern part of the state, and because I do live in Georgia. Hey, Martha Sparky, how are you? Yep, I have more allegiance to the tribe. Yeah, exactly. Good, well put. But I mean, but some of these new folk, whatever this new gen of folk that are out there, right? Where is their what is you don't hear them talking about their allegiance much. Their allegiance is somehow obscured by the gender stuff. And by and everything's got to be operated by a battery, and folks don't understand how polluting batteries are. Oh, you're not supposed to just throw them in the garbage, you're supposed to recycle them, and they don't. But to the point, there's acid that drips out of them. Batteries are really nasty, a lot of stuff that you can just toss by the wayside, but batteries are nasty. They can blow up on you. They can get on your clothes and ruin stuff, and you can get it in your eyes and it'll blind you. I've seen a car battery blow up in a person's face before with all that acid all over them. It was not a pretty sight. So, the batteries are dangerous in the long run and even to the environment, right? But everything's got to be a battery operated now. Okay. That's just going to get us into trouble. It just is. But it's going to be interesting in my old age to watch and see how this turns out. But folks growing up, everything's got to be a battery operated. The weed eater's got to be battery operated. Doesn't work near as good as a regular gas powered one. Oh, but I got a battery operated one. Okay. Oh, I got a battery operated chainsaw. Okay. I got a battery operated, machine that takes care of my business. Okay. And I got another machine that takes care of that other kind of business, like shaving in places. Okay. Everything's got a battery. Granny's got batteries for all kinds of stuff now, to make her happy and to put it in her hearing aids so she can hear, and Bluetooth and just all kinds of stuff. So, but where is our allegiance? We don't have queen and country. We don't have that kind of, um, America, country, and where is it that people, Hawkeye, do Georgia Southern peaches actually exist? Do Georgia Southern peaches actually exist? The females, yes, but they make lots of money. They They just not even to themselves. Same as plastics, keep busy. That's it. I'm going to Georgia and get some peaches. Yep. Not like they used to. Okay. Not like they used to. There are some genuine Southern girls who are in and of themselves peaches. Absolutely. Um, but with that said, you know, even some of the people who live in the state of Georgia don't like the state. Well, why don't you move? I guess it would be like Californians. Well, but folks in Georgia have a lot less reason to move. Well, but they don't have, legal marijuana laws now. Well, that's true. But there are CBDs and things and stuff that you can get, but it's not near as potent as some other places and things. Um, you'll settle for a Southern Belle. Um, a lot of them have been carpet bagged, okay? And I say that in that the Northerners have brought their evil ways down here and have polluted the Southern Belle, the true Southern Belle, to be like New York City, you know. Everything's got to be like New York City. Well, folks down here go to Atlanta. And I mean, I know folks down here in the South, in the southern part of the state down here, who'll drive to Atlanta for the day. And I'm like, it's a 4 hour drive. Yeah, but if we leave early, we can get there by lunch and have lunch and spend the day shopping and be home by 12 o'clock that night. And if we shared the drive, that one person doesn't have to drive both ways, and so they'll drive to Atlanta, 8 hour, round trip, 8 hours just to go to Atlanta. Okay. There are other cities I think I would rather go visit, but Hot Atlanta, there you go. But um, they, their allegiance doesn't seem to be like to local communities. Now there are some folks who, and I mean, I know a young lady anyway. She's in the FFA, Future Farmers, yeah, of America, and they had to buy chickens as a project for this year in high school. And so last year she took flower arranging and did very well and won a couple awards last year. And so she's serious about things, and about the South and about the environment. And but at the same time, she told her teacher where to go when the teacher said she had to wear a mask in school when all the mandates were gone. And so, hey, Diane. Hey, David, big hug. I don't have a lot of data. I just wanted, hi, good, Diane. I hope you're doing well. Give you them hugs. Um, and hope you're doing well in your area. but allegiance. So, there are a lot of families, they don't have an allegiance even to their own families, to their own brothers or sisters, because families are broken up, and they don't have any allegiance to, maybe to their classmates, or maybe to their workers, or who they work with. Huggies, Diane. Do people of this day and age actually even know what community is? I mean, we should ask. Yeah, there are folks like in Northwest Moultrie, it's mostly black. And some Hispanics have moved into the neighborhood, but it has been mostly black for as long as I've been in Moultrie. And in that community, there are some of the older folks now, they're my age, and some of them are passing away, but that tried to keep that community in Northwest Moultrie, alive and well, and they would have a community day once a year. And I know this because I would go into puppet shows. They'd pay me 25 or $50, and I'd go and spend the day, and I might get some free food, and I'd meet people and hang out. And that's why I know about some of this stuff. I'd be the only white person there, and hundreds of blacks, but I was always protected. There were black folks that protected me because I was the only white person who would come, and they respected that. And they was like, we need to take care of that white boy over there. Like, well, why? Because he's the only white boy that would come. Y'all be nice to him. But over the years, I knew folks in the community. But the thing is that there are still people who are interested in that community spirit. There are folks that I know, when I grew up in Tampa, there were folks that I knew, of course, this has been a long time ago, but who were, they did, the neighborhood cleanup and stuff, and, you know, but as I left Tampa and would come back to visit, that sense of neighborhood left somehow. I mean, I went back to the old neighborhood, but it did not seem like a neighborhood. They were just houses on the streets, and people lived in them, but it didn't seem like a neighborhood. Yeah, I know I moved away and lived in Georgia, but going back, there was a time when it still felt like a neighborhood, but then whatever 1972, 3, 4, somewhere in there, it quit being a neighborhood. Don't know what changed. It quit being a neighborhood. So, but anyway, I know down in Ybor City and places down in West Tampa, the Cuban Americans and them folks down there were very community oriented. Have not been down there in a long time, so I do not know what it's like now. But I do know that some of my old classmates from Tampa Catholic, that they still feel community oriented. They're old like me, and they're old school, literally, in a lot of ways. So, but I don't know what organizations or whatever, but I do know that within their neighborhoods and the communities, some of my old classmates are still active. Now, what about the new classmates? What about the new kids on the block? They don't seem to have the same kind of feelings as we do. Some of them do, and I think that they were born with old souls. But there are others, just they're just flighty, for lack of a better sense of neighborhood. Exactly right. And so, I mean, even here there is a sense of neighborhood, even though my nearest neighbor, well, they moved his trailer out, and my across the street, and a few people down there, and they all know each other, and there's a family behind them, and they all know each other. And so in out here in the country, there's little neighborhoods of people, And in this bigger neighborhood of people, if a tree is down or something, folks just help each other out, you know. So it's not like in a big city or nothing because we're spread more apart, but there is still a sense of community because we, you know, well, first we live in Colquitt County, and but we do live in Georgia, and we live here, and we're proud of living in Georgia. You know, we're proud to be here. We're proud to be Southerners. Otherwise, we'd have moved. You know, and there are folks around here that have had the opportunity to move or be someplace else or whatever with their careers, but you know, they're still Southerners. You know, they're still Georgians, you know. So in that there's some pride and there is a certain amount of allegiance. And in that they are Americans too, you know. God bless America, country in America, you know, but they mean it. They mean it. You know, yeah, I'm country, yeah, and I'm proud of it. Where you from, Georgia? I'm proud to be country from Georgia, you know. Okay. So there is a certain amount of allegiance there, but not everybody feels that way. You know, I hate Georgia. When I grow up, I'm gonna move someplace else. Where you gonna move? I'm gonna move to Alabama. Hey, that's what. Yeah, it's sad. It's sad I don't see that kind of thing anymore. Not as much now. Like in Colquitt County, there are folks who appreciate living down here in the South, and they got good football teams. They got good schools, you know. So this idea that wanting to move away or that there's some place that's better than here. You know, it used to be that we didn't have any amenities. Once the kids grow and move, they become a retirement community. Yeah. Well, they're selling South Georgia as a retirement community. You know, you don't have to go all the way to Florida. You can stop here, you know. And we have, you know, wonderful resources and things. And yeah, the rent's not bad. Yeah, we have all the, you're still close to Tallahassee if you live here. You know, you've got Albany and Atlanta's only 4 hours away, you know. I bought an old restaurant with a big parking lot, and people come and tell me stories of the area. Yeah, that's cool. Just add 30 years to my age, and that's my people. I miss the South, but the beach of LA is nice. Well, no offense, but I was doing a search of beaches, and Navarro Beach, been near Pensacola, Florida, is like one of the best beaches ever. And that's in the panhandle of Florida. And then there's all these other beaches that happen to be in the panhandle of Florida. And one of the nicest things about them is there are not a lot of people who live in the panhandle of Florida. So, but anyway, you know, stay in California with earthquakes and your supposedly great beaches. Hey, Mossy Man, when we have absolutely lovely beaches, you know, very close to me near here, without near the traffic, and we don't have earthquakes. Well, some, but very few and far between, and low on the totem pole, as it were. But anyway, to the Queen and Country, how you doing, Mossy Man? To the Queen and Country thing. So, many other countries have this ancient feel to them. You know, Greece or Italy or Great Britain or France or any of them. I mean, even Norway, you know, it's the Vikings and you know, it's Thor and Sven and all of them guys, you know. And the culture differences between, even though they're Europeans, and if European anywhere over there, you're making a mess, and go behind a tree. But they say that some in Paris that people just pee anywhere. It's nasty. But anyway, European, um, Malibu is nice, and Philippines beaches are the best. Northwest is too. Well, David, I'm doing fair to middling, Mossy man. You're a league all your own scratch. Yep. Well, if you're over 60, Chloe, Chloe will hang out with you. Well, but no, but I mean, there are folks that just claim, oh, well, these beaches are the best, and and blah blah blah, and there ain't a better beach in the world. Well, actually, there are, within the United States, mind you, but it's okay to each their own, and I'm not trying to pick on anybody. Yes, I am. Pick on you. Stay in California and have an earthquake kill you. There you go. I've said my piece. But so anyway, and this bowl's been sitting here waiting on me. No, it's not 20 yet. 12:52 on Eastern Daylight Time. So here's another thing about the Queen and Country. Since the Queen is dead and the King is king now, Prince Charles is no longer a prince. He's a queen among men. I mean, I'm sorry, he's the king now. Never mind. So, should we have something that we can align ourselves with to, well, there are them Trump folks. And I'm like, I'll vote for him before I vote for Biden, but give me another opportunity and maybe JFK Jr. or we'll see. But do we have an allegiance to anything? I mean, the Democratic Party is screwed, so's the Republican Party, and there's not enough emphasis with anybody who gives a rat's patoot to have a third party that could have any influence whatsoever. So where's our allegiance? What, to the Constitution? Well, they have ripped that some bitch up and tore it to shreds. Well, what about our senators and our representatives? Well, a lot of them that are up there are just windbags and criminals. Some of them are just outright criminals. So where is our allegiance to our country? In Great Britain, people are like, well, I'm from Great Britain and my allegiance to the country and all of the history that's here. And we don't have the same thing in America. So people in Spain, history and the Queen and the this, and Italy, the Pope and the this and the wars and and many of the other countries. Romania has, I knew some people from Romania. They have, the motherland, and there's this thing about being Romanian, I'm proud to be a Romanian, and it's like, well, are you proud to be an American? Well, well, I don't know these days, and my gender is such, and you better call me a they or a them. Okay, them, or is it a they? So, but so it seems like the young people of today, um, their allegiance is foggy at best. I not saying all of them are bad, but when you listen to some of these college kids and stuff, I just have to shake my head and go, what the fudge, man? What are these chillins, these young people even considering? I mean, I thought we were wasted in my day back in the late 60s and early 70s from smoking pot and taking acid and having, parties in the park. And nowadays is like, I don't know what these folks is up to. Holy crap. With their noses in their phones and holy crap, 10th graders watching porn on their on their cell phones. I'm sorry. I was 20 years old before I learned a lot of stuff because we just had picture books and they weren't very clear. So there are so many things that are out in the open, but at the same time, I would consider that there are more secrets now than ever before. With all the internet, with everything being open, the government is secretive about this. The government is secret about, people have their secret lives, even though they post pictures on Facebook. And when we have secret lives and they're doing stuff behind their husband's back and their lover's back and whatever sex they might be and whatever their politics might be. And I'm a closet Republican. Really? Okay. But I voted for Biden. What? Because I hate Trump. Oh, things are weird, right? So folks are hiding in the closets with all kinds of stuff. And, then there are those who have their beliefs. Okay. And then they have their non beliefs. Yeah, I don't believe that shit. I ain't gonna believe that shit. You can't tell me that shit. I ain't gonna believe it until I say it. And then I'm gonna question it because I'm not sure if I saw it or not. But Clem said he saw it, and if Clem saw it, then I believe him. Okay. I was gonna pick on a particular race, but not on purpose. Um, Way back in the day, there we had dead baby jokes, and we had a lot of Polak jokes. We had a lot of Italian jokes. I don't remember too many jokes about Germans, honestly. But in my day, it was how many Polacks does it take to screw in a light bulb? Two. One to hold the ladder and one to screw him, or three, one to hold the ladder and two to twirl them. I mean, it varied. But then we became politically correct, and instead of them being Polack folks or Italian folks, or sometimes we'd throw in an Irishman or two. It became a moron. How many morons does it take? It took the same amount as it did Polacks. So for those of us who remembered Polack jokes versus moron jokes, we're like, it takes just as many morons as it does Polacks to put that light bulb in. I don't see the humor in that where the dang. Do you there, Fred? Fred? Uh, he's trying to screw in the light bulb all by himself, and he's not having any luck. So don't put your finger in the socket, Fred. Remember that now. Uh, yeah, I know your wife said try it out, but don't do it. You know, Standing in a pail of water there. I think she's trying to electrocute you. You got the insurance out, Fred. So, but anyway, so in this day and time of stuff, should we even have an allegiance? Should the people in the UK have allegiance to their king? Why don't they just say, nah, you know, basically, chuck you, Farley, Charles, Chuck, anyway. So Chuck you, Farley. I ain't having it. You know, we pay taxes in Britain, and good God Almighty, all my taxes goes to, you know, this dumb some bitches that wears this crown and he looks so stupid with it on and strutting around and doing all that. You know, chuck you, Farley. Let's get rid of it, right? The monarchy. Yeah, but there's history there, and there's the castles, and then there's the upkeep of the castles. Well, it puts people to work, you know. What a housing program, you know. Keep the castles, keep the monarchs and their, you know, their subsidiaries down the line, you know. Give them something to do and a salary, and you know, let them travel around, and you know, make them look good in the public eye. You know, but is El Dorado's in Missouri? El Dorado Springs, not heard of there. Uh, yeah, I know where Lake of the Ozarks is. I'm a little south. Yeah, it's pretty there. Yeah, as in the land, the history. So, you know, I'm talking with Robert and talking about Native Americans, you know, it's sort of I think I'm trying to talk about the history of the land of the United States. You know, I'm like, you know, it ain't just about, you know, when the white settlers came, there was a history long before then. And we have glossed over it as, you know, patriots to America, you know. So, but I mean, so what is there to cling on to? 200 years of what? 200 years of politics. That's what, well, America's got the breadbasket and then the farmland and the things. America's come up with a lot of stuff, you know. America, you know, built some of the first cars, and Henry Ford and all them folk up yonder in Detroit. I've been to Detroit and I've been to a couple of Ford plants. So, you know, right on to, you know, several of them Ford plants are over in Windsor in in Canada. Um, there are several plants right around in one area that is just outside of Detroit, but on the Canada side. I'm sorry, I don't mean to belittle the Canadians. I had done this double talk Canada for a long time, and it's hard for me to get out of it. I did it as a joke, but not as a political humor. But anyway, so them folks up there, nice people, and they seem to have more of a because their Canada is young in terms of, you know, Canada was discovered about the time America was, you know, the and so, but they're still tied to Queen and country. There's the monarch still has a hold on them Canadians, and then there's the French Canadians, you know. And so with that, there's sort of a history, even though it's across the pond, but and that's current. So, but for us, we don't associate with Britain because of our history, even though that's where a lot of folks came from. We don't associate with the Spaniards who came and you know brought folks over here. We don't associate with, you know, of course the French never really did sail over here, but they did. You know, I mean, there's the French Canadians that are the Creole down in New Orleans. You know, them French folk there. So, you know, America has had a lot of um, immigration, right? A lot of Irish, but they didn't build their own boats. They came with the Brits, or you know, or what about the Dutch? What? Yeah, the Dutch New Guineas and the Dutch folk came over, and but they didn't bring their shoes for some reason. But the Dutch brought folk, and they did more trading than they did, because Dutch land ain't real big, but and the Dutch, you know, um, Appalachia is filled with old Irish jigs and tunes and things, and um, so a lot of settlers came from other countries, but they didn't necessarily bring the queen with them. You know what I mean? They didn't necessarily. They brought Ireland with them, and they brought their heritage with them. And in some places, and not just the Appalachians, but in some places, the that heritage is still strong. They want to still be Irish, or they still want to remember, what it was like to be, Romanian or Polish or German, even, And so North Georgia, they got a little town up there, Helen up there, and it's all decked out and looks like the Swiss Alps up there, and with lederhosen in the whole 9 yards, right? So is it 20 yet? It's 107. Okay. So, there's, having cultural differences within the United States. When I drove around it years ago, it was just unbelievable. You know, we drove from Kansas City, Missouri, up to South Dakota. Got there and I ordered a glass of, iced tea. And everybody in the place looked at me weird. We just had iced tea a few hours earlier. So the lady brought a thing of hot water, a cup, and a tea bag, and a glass with ice in it. Make your own iced tea. Okay, I just ended up having hot tea, but to the point, the cultural differences of a few hundred miles, and even in America, is like going to another country because they were like, iced tea. Oh, what is iced tea? Well, it's you make tea and then you put ice in it and then you drink it. Well, here's a cup, here's some water, here's a tea bag, and here's a glass of ice. Okay. But, where we had just left, they had, sweet and unsweet tea in great big jugs. They was ready for people. So, but it's still within the continental United States. So, the people up north, and God bless them folks in South Dakota, they have they're from South Dakota, and you gotta like it up there to live in South Dakota. You know, you gotta want to live there. In a lot of ways. So farmers and truckers and so forth, like you gotta want to live down here in the South. You know, ain't nothing wrong with it, but except a difference of 1,200 miles from north to the south. But you know, we still all Americans. You know, ain't nothing wrong with that. But do we have an allegiance like some of these other countries do? And some of these countries, you hear them talk, and it seems like they don't have the same allegiance that they did when I was a kid growing up. You hear about the Greece or some of these other places, and it seemed like they were very strong, and the governments were strong, and we'd come out of World War II and into and so there was all this strength all over the place, and now it just seems like everybody's wishy washy. Has the planet lost their allegiance to their countries, the people to their countries, to the whatever ancient ways, if there were any ancient ways? Like, what do we celebrate around here? Well, For example, well, Mardi Gras in Fat Tuesday in New Orleans or something like that, St. Patty's Day, just because it's for the Irish. So we have these different holidays that we sort of make up to remind us, I think, of where some of our heritage might be. Like, what's it like to be, the Celts come out, you know, um, around St. Patty's Day, whoa, bigotty, and that's great, and there is the Oktoberfest, where depending on where you're at, there's a whole week of drinking beer and wearing lederhosen and being jolly, having nothing to do with Germany and wars and bombings and Nazis, but the Bavarian part of being German and and happy and that's great. And now there's Black History Month, so they got a whole month of being black where they pretend to be something else the rest of the year. I'm joking. But, Native American heritage. Oh, happens to be on Christopher Columbus Day for crying out loud. Oh, yeah, he was really good to the natives, wasn't he? Gave them all syphilis and killed a bunch of them and infected the rest. So, but, do we have an allegiance and should we? I'm looking for the 20. I never thought I'd get a place. I was just persistence has a lot to do with it. Yes, finding a place is cheaper than rent. Yeah, so much word I'd be typing till the end of the show. Told everyone on D's show Sunday that my neighbor and wife were gunned down in front of their houses last week. Oh no, I did not hear that. That my neighbor and wife were gunned down in front of their houses. Son of a bitch. Yeah, neighborhoods ain't what they used to be. I mean, there are just folks that are just out to do not random politics. That sucks. A- any reason that they're gunned down sucks. But politics, you'd almost wish it was random. Chloe, be like the carnies. See if you can keep an eye out for an old step van, bread truck, something like that, right? And the reason is because you can fix them up really easy into a nice little mini home. I helped other carnies do it back in the day. An old school bus works too, but they really stick out. School and plus they got a low ceiling most of them unless it's a newer model, and they're way up high off the ground. Where a step van is not too high up off the ground. The ground, but I don't know what the deal is, but if you look around, sometimes you can find one for not too bad money. And but a old bread truck, step van, whatever, um, and you can convert them easily. So I think I encountered two angels a few hours ago. Good. Leaving his house to his daughter when he passes. So me and Mama are getting kicked off the property that day. I know I every day that I'm sitting here down here on my property, I'm so glad I made the decision that I did all them years ago. I was outside yesterday on my John Deere mowing some grass. And Lord have mercy, at my age, it feels so good because I've been locked up with back surgery and all, to be able to run around in my own yard and mow and accomplish something. I asked if it was light language. No answer. One spoke a language to Nate. This is Amish country and want to put a few tiny cabins in the garden area. Well, that's cool, Michelle. I was homeless back in the day, but ever since I committed to buying this piece of property, I have just been hell bent for election to keep it. And I've almost lost this piece of property several times to the county. And if I don't go pay my garbage tax tomorrow, they're going to put a lien against the house again. But you know, um, but all in all, you got to live somewhere, and I couldn't. I have when I first got out of jail, I lived a couple of places for free. That free though, I paid with sweat equity. I helped around the farm. I helped doing chores. I paid with sweat equity. And people don't really know. I've had people here before and to, needed a place to stay. I've got the old camper out there, let them stay in the house. And they didn't know what the hell sweat equity was. And I'm like, well, what is it? Well, you're going to help me around the place. And I go outside, it's too hot, it's too cold, or I don't feel like it. Well, wait a minute now, but you're living on the place and I'm not charging you anything. And you agreed, sweat equity, and you know, 1 out of 20 paid in sweat equity. Wait, 2 out of 20. There was a couple of folks that actually helped me. And so, but everybody wanted a free place to stay and the internet to work just right. And they wanted meals and they wanted to be able to, okay, but you're not paying me anything. No. And you're not helping me in any way. No. But you still want this stuff. Yeah. Okay. I quit offering out loud because it kept ending up in these situations, right? Good on you, Michelle. Stick it under the mattress. It's for a special something, and you'll know later. How about that one? Well, then it's not off topic. Yeah, stick it under the mattress. Something's coming up. My guys are saying, okay. It's 121. Needs stirred up a little bit. About ran out of in here. But so allegiance, we have there are those of us like here within our community here. Um, we have an allegiance because we're friends. We treat each other with respect. That's an allegiance. We have conversation and discussion, but we treat each other with respect and dignity. That's the word. Most of the time. So with that, we have an allegiance. And there is a hierarchy in that. Now, what I mean is it's not necessarily that any of us are better than the other, but in the fact that we know each other and that we interact within our soul tribe folks. We, the group of the members of the League of Like-Minded Beings, the hierarchy is that not everybody understands it. So are we necessarily better than other folks? Not really, but because we understand something differently, and there's a bunch of us that do, so therefore we have a hierarchy is a little bit different from them. Well, does that make us better? Not necessarily. Not necessarily, but I would say being more aware of our senses and other things in the universe, that might give us an edge, but are we better than anybody? There are folks who feel they are, and can look at some idiots that I've known and go, yeah, I'm better off than they are because they just ain't got a clue. But in their cluelessness, yeah, cluelessness, they're in their own little world. So, and they don't know any better. And since they don't know any better, then they're just fine in their own little world. Hey, that way, driving to get bananas. I'm a Chiquita banana. Day, 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 daylight come and me want go home. Daylight come and me want go home. Banana boat song, right? Seriously, a bus home. They're okay. Lived in a couple. I got an old bus here on my property. They have got their goods and bads. You got all them windows you got to deal with. That's a bad. You got the seats if you get one you got to deal with. That's a bed. But if you get an old bread truck, especially if it's just one or two people, those convert really easy and they're not as high up off the ground. They're not as visible. A bread truck can like sneak around a neighborhood. A school bus, you're going to see it. How you doing that way? But so anyway, in the hierarchy of things, there are folks, and I don't get it because I'm an old geezer, I guess, um or what do they call a person who's not very gifted with, I used to do 3D AutoCAD, so it's not like I have never worked with computers or that I don't know, about things. But there are folks in the gaming world, okay? And my good friend, Buddy, he, will be playing with his cell phone some bang bang shoot 'em up game. And I mean they're at it and they got the thing and there's rat a tat 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 and he's sitting and doing and he's really into the game, man. And there are other people in the game wherever they're at, whether sitting at home on the computer or on their cell phones, they're engaged in this. And there is a camaraderie among some of these folks when they do this. So I think that there is an allegiance of friends, and friends depends on what the activity is. There are still guys and gals who go golfing. There are still folks who go and play tennis together. There are folks who, go and do, the sports together. So with that, I think there is anytime you play it, more than, two people, you're a team of sorts. So whether it be basketball or soccer or highlight or whatever it might be, um, you know, there is a camaraderie there and competition and but there is an allegiance between friends, at least most of the times. So, but is that allegiance like to the city for providing tennis courts? you know, well, I have to pay my taxes, so I'm paying for them fucking tennis courts that I use. Um, but so how are we in this? So our activities, be it a sports or some kind of event, we align ourselves to that. So, like, it's football season now, and high school football's, on Friday nights now. And there are folks who, I miss my friend Marcia. She used to work at um, at the at the Packers games in the concession stand for the Lions Club, and used to help out. And sometimes their cotton candy machine broke down, and I've got one. Their popcorn machine went haywire one time, and I made bags of popcorn for them, and um, so there's a camaraderie there. There's an allegiance to the club and what you're doing and to the people who are part of the club and for the who and for the football season. Even though Marcia didn't like football, she liked the season. She liked being around the people, and she liked, even though she'd complain about, couldn't get out of the parking lot because of all the people, she still went and participated and got her out of the house, and she was around, versus sitting at the house and just, and worrying or whatever and not being around anybody. So, it brings the social thing in. And so then, so, and she was committed to that, um, and a couple of other things in her lifetime. But, you know, so um, that was her queen and country, you know, the Lions Club and this club, and how she participated and what she did. And she was serious about it. And so were the people that she worked with, and they called each other and they went to town, and so there is an allegiance there. But F Joe Biden, you know, but I'm going to go to the Lions Club meeting. I'm going to be there at the football game in the concession stand because we collect money for the Lions Club there, and then we donate it back to the community and such. And so Queen and Country on a small scale, but all over the down here, and I'm assuming because there are football games going on all over the place, but there are similar activities going on within these communities. And it might not be the neighborhood, but it when last time I was down in Tampa, went to Tampa Catholic for one of the football games there. All of the alumni and folks, there are folks that still live in the neighborhood that's like 2 blocks away from Tampa Catholic, and their mother lived there, and now the kids are growing up and they're living there, and they bought a house in the neighborhood, and what and their kids are going to high school at Tampa Catholic, and their son plays football, or their daughter is a cheerleader or something, all these 40, 50 years later. And their family's still in Tampa and still in that neighborhood, and they still, like, what? I moved away. um I didn't live near Tampa Catholic anyway, lived out near Busch Gardens. But still, to the point though, um the allegiance, so if I lived in Tampa, I would still be closer to Tampa Catholic. That, without a doubt. I would go to the football games. I would go to the track meets. I would be more involved than I am living up here in South Georgia, without a doubt. Um, and I have more of an alliance with some of these high schools up here because I've known people that go to these high schools and coaches and things and so forth, and some of the players that played, local football around here in the different towns, So, but anyway, so the allegiance, the alliance, the Queen and Country. If you live in Conquet County, it's the Packers football team. If you live down in Thomasville, it's either the Yellow Jackets or it's the Bulldogs, and the Bulldogs are the city school, and the Yellow Jackets are the county school, and the county school is, won state championship several times. Colquitt County, nobody wants to play them because they're so damn good. Honestly, not bragging, they just are. They play. They have played teams from other states because they can't get teams in the within the state to play them. They're so damn good. So um, the Colquitt County Packers are just are massive football, and how they play and so forth. But anyway, so and that's gotten country down here, um But so what do the college kids have that's queen and country for them? To look forward to this shattered government that we have, that's left, right, up, down. There's no justice. If justice would somehow prevail and some of these people go to jail for the crimes they committed, like the rest of us have gone to jail for less, you know, and for longer times too. But um, what do these college kids have to work with these days? Why should I learn anything? A lot of online school, and I'm all for it. Learn your ass off as long as you can. Learn as much as you can. Me at 71, I'm still learning stuff. I'm still looking stuff up. I was thinking the other day about how it'd be really cool if I could get my engineering degree, just a bachelor's degree in engineering, where I have years of um, machining experience and actually doing engineering work. I don't have a degree. So before I die, but that's 3.5 years and a lot of money, even going online. And I'm like, well, I don't know. That's a lot of money just to say you did it. Ain't going to get me a job, probably not. But and I could probably spend that money that I would spend going to school or getting a loan or whatever on something around the farm here, or that would actually be of benefit versus just a piece of paper. But it still has crossed my mind. So, but I can still learn about things. And, now with the internet, I can check on things and formulas and whatever. I was like, what was that stress and strength? What was that formula for checking the distance and blah, blah, blah? And you type it in, there's a website, the formula's already there, and you punch in the numbers and it gives you the answer. Versus having to get out a slide rule or something like that and figure it out on your own. So there's nothing wrong with being able to get to the answers quicker than when I was going to school, because you actually had to work it out on paper. Here's your formula. And a lot of times, depending on how far back, we didn't have calculators either. You had a slide rule. And what? Yeah, you had a what? A slide rule. And I used to know how to use one of them sons of guns. So you needed to figure out, how much a load was going to go on a floor. And you had to know the 2x6, 2x8, 2x10, 2x12. What's the span? What's on top of it? How much is going to be stacked on top of it? What's going to be on the roof or floor above it? And you either did it literally by longhand with pencil and paper and an eraser, or in instances you used a slide rule. And most people, a slide rule? What the hell are you talking about? Yep, I think I've got one upstairs actually, from the old days. So it'd be like using an abacus. What the hell is an abacus? But there's some Chinese folks that still use them. They still are useful, when the lights go out. But anyway, but our allegiance to things, our allegiance, I think, to a lot of folks is going to be, guess who? Hi, Bob. I think our allegiance is going to be to AI. Our allegiance is going to be to Alexa. Our allegiance is going to be to, okay, Google, you know, because I use it too. Okay, Google, and to use the voice recognition. And it used to be that voice recognition sucked. Now it is really good and knows how to spell words that I don't know how to spell. Like I've entered, uh, Ochlockonee River, I think, and it's Ochlocknee, Ochlockonee, and it gets it right. It knows Ochlockonee. What? Yeah, it knows the word and knows how to spell it correctly. What? Yeah. There are other words that it sort of messes up sometimes, but sometimes I talk with a lisp. But so allegiance for Americans, I'm still all for America. I wish we'd get our nose out of other places and bring folks home, and the money that is spent interfering with other nations and peoples, we should spend on our own peoples, especially veterans, who could get a better shake, and treatment and so forth, like my brother. Um, and so, but our allegiance, there are folks who are still joining the armed forces, and their allegiance is to the Marines or the Navy or the Air Force or whatever they're joining. And I applaud them folks for being able to do that and to make their pledge of allegiance. But in general, these transgender can't figure out who they are type folk, they or thems. Where is their allegiance? It's short term, it's short lived, it's short sighted, in my humble opinion, when you listen to them. And when you get a bunch of them together, it's almost scary. Well, it's not almost scary, it is scary because they scream and holler and demand stuff that don't make no sense to a lot of us. Okay, but you got the right to rant and rave and scream all you want to. You go right ahead, chillins. And there's some. Have you seen the guy who is a girl with these boobs that hang down to his knees? He's a transgender and he wasn't, and people have caught him out in public without his boobies, and they're calling him out on it, that he's just doing it for attention. And I think he's a school teacher or something. I mean, it's like, what? So I think a lot of this, there are people who are doing it simply for attention versus the people who really maybe are transgender. And that skinny dude with the Bud Light thing, right? I mean, what he's he's an actor. He's making stuff up, and oh, I am, and he talks in the mirror and he's like this, and oh, and that, and today I think I'm a lesbian, and now I think I like girls. Oh, you dimwit Twinkie, you know. But okay. So, and I think some of these folks are absolutely doing it for the attention and for whatever attention, whether it be good or bad. Good, bad publicity is still publicity, right? So, but here's this guy with these huge boobs and making but he's doing it to get attention. He's doing these things to be allowed to go into a women's bathroom. He's doing it, because, and you got to call him madam now or something, or whatever the deal is. So, in my humble opinion, this clown, because of his overemphasis, and maybe he's doing it on purpose, as a, you see how crazy it is. I'm gonna wear the biggest boobs I can and show you how fucking stupid this is. That could be too. But at the same time, the people who really want or need to transition and are doing it sort of on the QT without a bunch of attention, is making their lives harder, you know. So whether I agree with it or not, there are people who really want to transition, who are serious and who have issues, and then there are these other people who just make, they're being clownish about it. And I want to say to these folks, stop it. It's bad enough, but stop the clowning around thing. See, hey CD, how you doing? It's been a weird day. Yeah, it has. I think when I watched that video, there was also one about a teacher whose whose student wants to be a cat. Yes, and they wanted to actually put a litter box in the classroom for that kid. How crazy is that? Yeah, and there's one kid who had identified as a fox or something like that. And they were like, "What?" And they were like, "Yeah." And they would go and pet him, and yeah, the cat thing. And they would speak to the kid in meow talk. What the fudge is going on? So, in that respect, I remember doing that with little kids, and about the age of 6, they were out of it. In fact, a good friend of mine, she's in, I think, first grade now, for whatever age that is, say 6, 7. Um, but she talked in meow meow. In fact, one of Duggar's younger friends, um, before I got him. But anyway, um, she talked meow meow and talked to Duggar with a sort of, little meow meow voice when they were together. But this idea that now, they're going to allow them to talk in cat. There's another language to learn, right? But it's insanity. I mean, how can anybody that they can't be in their right mind? They what? Come on now, what? You're going to let this child speak in cat? What? No, you should be put in the insane asylum, and you should let that child hang around with some normal people because they won't speak in kitty cat, and that child will have to learn to speak in English or Spanish or wherever they're hanging out. But they won't be speaking in kitty cat. Turn that child loose with some real people. What? Get it a litter box? They're trying to make this child even worse than it is. Wow. Somebody in that somebody needs some Thorazine. You know what I mean? Somebody needs to be taken out behind the woodshed and whooped for that stupidity. Are you kidding me? Come on, let's all talk in well, what kind of cat we gonna talk? We gonna talk in alley cat? Or we gonna talk in, Cheshire cat kind of talk? You know, is it a southern cat or is it a northern cat? You know, does it poop outside or does it have a litter box? What kind of cat, are we gonna? Holy shit. We used to sing songs like, I'm a little teapot, short and stout. Here is my handle, here is my spout. Now I'm a little kitty cat, meow, meow, meow. Meow, 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 meow. Oh, wait, hold it. What? What? Yeah, meow mix. Meow 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 meow. Remember meow mix? But we got over it. It was a joke. I I keep asking myself, what next? But I don't want to know. In the past, people have asked me, we're doing the cards and stuff, and I have um, done rune readings for other folks and myself years ago, and was pretty good at doing the rune readings. I pulled some really good runes for folks, and was done pretty good with my readings over the years. At least other people tell me that. So, wanting to know the future, that's where I was headed with this. And I've mentioned this before, I don't really want to know the future. I don't. I used to. Well, I wonder what's going to happen tomorrow. Wonder what's going to happen in, whatever. Wonder what's going to happen. I've had dreams. I've had visions. And now I don't want to know. Don't tell me nothing unless it's important. I don't want to know. I'm not going to push myself out there for any kind of future events because I watch current events as the observer, and I watch and I see that there are trends and there are things moving in certain ways, and you scratch your head and go, um, it's like the Maui thing. When I did the video the other day about, the 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 boats on fire equals, building 7. And what I mean by that in general is that what's going to happen is they're just going to go, well, we don't know. Well, what happened to all the children? We don't know. Well, what happened to all the people that are still missing? We don't know. Well, what's going to happen? We don't know. So the answer, like building 7, is we don't know. Well, it fell down. Yeah, well, we could see that. Right. Well, so the answer to what's going to come up with this, they're going to stretch it out so far down the line that the we don't know is going to be the answer to where these people have gone. Where have they gone? We don't know. Well, did they get burned up in the fire? We don't know. Well, where are their bodies? We don't know. Well, where are the children? We don't know. Well, what happened to the? We don't know. That's the answer. And I'm sorry to say it now, but you watch. What happened to Building 7? We don't know. Well, it fell down. Yeah, why? We don't know. Well, did a plant? We don't know. Well, what happened to all the stuff? We don't know. Remember all the money and stuff that was supposedly in Building 7 and all the other stuff? We don't know. What happened to that? We don't know. That's the answer. So, what's going to be, how is this going to play out down there? You watch. It's going to absolutely end up, we don't know. Well, blah, 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 an investigation. Well, what happened? We don't know. They're going to interview people. They're going to talk about somebody's going to resign, but is anybody going to get in trouble? Anybody going to go to jail? Is anybody going to? No. Because why? Well, we don't know. Because the justice system don't work correct, but there's going to be an investigation. And there's going to be people talking about it. But in the end, what's going to happen is where are the people? Where are the children? We don't know. That's the answer. I don't want to be right about this, but just keep an eye on it. I hope not, but because they haven't said up to now, their answer has to be, we don't know. Well, we found some bones over here, but we don't know. The fire did something or something, or maybe aliens came but we don't know. We know we don't have them. We know they're not over there in the corner somewhere. We don't know. One of the things about Hawaii, Hawaii was an old joke back in the day. Um, Especially if you was from Brooklyn, Hawaii. But where'd you go on vacation? Hawaii. Well, I'm doing just fine, but where'd you go on vacation? I told you, Hawaii. Well, I'm doing all right. And how's the family? Hawaii. Yeah, but you, okay. Anyway, Jersey. I'm from Jersey. You from Jersey? So, but in this understanding of stuff and the understanding of where do our alliances lie, do we have any? Should we have any? So we rely more upon the internet and AI now. People can't follow a map, they use GPS and Google this and that. You know, I used to love to get the new phone book because it'd be about yay thick and you could read through the yellow pages and there was information there. And now I got a phone book that's like this thick, and there are a lot of people that don't, they're not even in there because they don't have landlines anymore. I got two phones. I got a mobile phone and I got my landline, which is, oh my God, I got to find out why it's almost $200. But the price keeps going up. Come on, guys. What the hell? So, but anyway, it is my entertainment. What? What is it? Boy, Duggar just sat right up and he was asleep. There is no money. That's an illusion. We, the people, are the value. Yep. And see, and when you're my age, the only value I have is to have my Medicare pay for insurance and pay for the doctor bills because otherwise I'm sort of useless. If I don't produce anything. I could if I was in better shape. Um, I mow my grass now because I finally got a lawnmower that I could afford that runs. Um, I've yet to been able to go back to kayaking yet, but I'm working on it. So, what is my productivity? I don't have any. Well, I would like to produce more videos if that's of any value, more outside videos and things. And yeah, but I'm having trouble walking. Well, we're working on all that. But, but what is my value to the rest of the world except the fact that, I'm retired and I spend my check, because I don't have any other obligations. I don't have to pay rent or anything like that. So I'm a consumer. So that's my value. I'm an elderly consumer. Ooh, you know, I'm an elderly consumer. It's battery what? And that's why no one has landlines. They want you to have a cell. Yeah, I refused to get a cell for many years. And it's only because of my heart condition and everything that I've gotten a cell phone. And I got to admit, I really like it, but I don't use it like other people do. Um, but it does have GPS on it that really does work. I mean, it shows up from here, my house, to the top of the driveway, which is an eighth of a mile, and it shows up. It shows me walking. I'm impressed. you know, One thing I do like about it is that, is the maps application. So I don't have to carry around a lot of folded maps, but I still use maps, and rather than, let Google tell me where to go, I'm going to look on the map myself and go, okay, I need to go down here to Highway 97 and hang a right and go down to such and such and take a left, you know. But I love the fact that there are so many maps that are available to me. I mean, USG maps that go back to when they first put in maps. And you can look at those old maps and they'll tell you where old mines are and where a lot of stuff that you would not know that exists today. And that's how I found some caves and things in my area, was looking at the older maps before they came up with Google Earth. It was the USG maps. I still got a bunch of them upstairs that rolled up that I bought, you know, physical shown up maps. So, but they showed, uh, old mines, sinkholes, and things like that, in this area. Well, in any area, you get one of those USG maps, and look down upon it, especially the older ones, and you'll find all kinds of stuff, you know, old farmsteads and things. I mean, they were really accurate, back in the day, to where how many houses were in the curve of a road. There'd be two houses and a barn, and it would show it, on the map. So you could know exactly where you were or how many buildings were in an area, and that's useful information. And especially if you're a prepper, to have a map that shows where things are, Of course, nowadays everything is Google Earth. Well, the last time I looked at Google Earth, what look where my place is, it's an old picture because things have changed around here. And so when you look at it, it's like that's not what it looks like now. But anyway, so things change. But still, to our allegiance, there are certain things. So like for me, my allegiance is not to Google Earth, but it is to maps. you know, do I trust AI to tell me where to go? No, but I trust AI's information that is, old information where the maps are. You know what I mean? So I have I have use of the AI in that show me a map versus tell me where to go. Because tell me where to go is where you're going to go down here 8 miles and turn left. Okay, but I want to look at the map. I want to see what the lay of the land is. I want to see if we're going to go through a small town. I want to see if there's a railroad. Is there a river we're going to cross? I want to know what is in the area. Well, you got Google Earth if you want to look at it in real time. And no, that's not what I want. I want a map. I just want to look at a map. That's all. I'm old school in that way. But so my allegiance isn't to AI to tell me where to go or how to get there, but my allegiance to the AI is to store the information I need when I need it. Like, show me a map of South Georgia, show me a map of Colquitt County, show me a map of, Valdosta, show me a map of Tallahassee, so I can go there, but I can do my own figuring, I can do my own turning or whatever. Because Google's going to pick a route that may not agree with me. It's done so many a times, and I keep talking about my dear friend Marcia, but she'd be driving along and she'd go, well, Google says to go this way. Hey, Debbie, how are you? To chat, love, respect. Yeah, come on in and chat. Hang out with us. We'd go to Tallahassee and I would know a couple of roads, because I'd done some work down in Tallahassee, and she'd be stuck on the big roads where every couple of blocks there'd be another light. And I'd say, here, go down this road. Well, but GPS doesn't tell me to go that way. Go down this way. And there'd be like one light or a stop sign, and we'd go down and get, now I always got us where we needed to go, but she was, oh, good, you're doing well. Thank goodness. Not everyone here is entirely human. I don't think I'm entirely human. How about you, CD? And the bad side does have their pawns in place that appear to be human. Keep that in mind. Yep, absolutely. And there's been a couple of shows and things, and the discussion about eyes changing, or black eyes, or eyes that glow in red in the dark. Those are, you know, other things to keep an eye out, because, those are some of them humans. They're not really humans. Um, and there are some that are, they're not really alien either. They're more like robots. So, yeah, we got to be careful of them. Um, but in this long list of stuff, it's like, you know, be the best that you can be, and hopefully you're on the light side of things. If you're working for the dark side, I was talking with a friend of mine the other day, and I said, you were raised up down here in the South. Yeah, he's a true redneck, and a lovely person, and a true redneck. And learned how to hunt, but he eats what he hunts. Learned how to, but at the same time, during the off season, he continues to, feed the deer with corn and meal and stuff like that. So it is to keep them in the neighborhood, but it's also, you know, I just don't want to kill you, but I want to feed you too, and other critters too, like to eat the corn and things like turkeys and stuff like that, So and everything in the season, but I was like, yeah, and so you were grown up down here to learn how to do these things naturally. He's like, yeah, my pa taught me and my uncle, and I hung around them, and and besides, I like to hunt, and I like the deer meat, to eat it, and that way we don't have to spend money, at the store, and being self sufficient, and in that way of life. So, but other folks, that way of life, is just, well, they'll take the deer to a processor. They won't skin it themselves. Now he'll skin it and then take it to the processor, and save them some time. But in the long run, and do a lot of it themselves. So, well, he's a good Southern person. He pays his taxes. He goes to work every day and works hard. He is a professional of, 35 years in what he does, and owns his own business, and a lot of like Republican kind of stuff, and not necessarily a Republican, but because he works for himself and pays taxes, and you know um uh, okay, so, but he's a Southern boy, and his allegiance is going to be different than somebody that was raised in Moultrie, just 15 miles away, because their dad didn't hunt. Their dad played golf instead. Their dad, didn't own any property in the country. Didn't know anybody that owned property in the country. Were not into shooting or hunting, but they do own firearms and go to a range. So they have something in common in that they live in the country, and Georgia has an open carry. So all right, so now they do. So if you're 18 years old, you can buy a gun and carry it open. All right. So we're now the the Texas Rangers in Georgia now. But anyway, so but you don't hear of mass shootings or anything down here. We've had our, there have been Mexicans killing Mexicans, and some black folks killing one another, in drug deals and things. But, you'd think that open carry, oh my God, there'd be gunfire going off all over the place. And that ain't true. But anyway, so, but even though, one's born really in the country, and the other one, it's country, Moultrie's country, but grew within the city limits. Still South Georgia, still the same time frame, but one knows all of these things about hunting and so forth, and the other one doesn't. So, but they're both from Georgia, they're both from Colquitt County, they're both within 15 miles of each other, but they live two separate, different lifestyles. So where does their allegiance come in? So the raised in the city, even though he's supposedly a country boy compared to the rest of the country, he don't know how to shoot deer and skin them and clean them and do all that kind of stuff. Now he might know more than about country living than somebody from Macon or from Atlanta or something, but so where their allegiance lie and how did they get there, right? So where you know what do I stake my claim to? Well, I'm going to stand up for Colquitt County in the South. Yeah, but you're a homeboy, but you're not a redneck homeboy. you know you haven't worked on a farm, you haven't picked cotton, you haven't skinned a deer. So, but you're still a good old country boy, and I'm not putting you down for not knowing how to skin a deer. But to the point, though, you still live in the same place. So, in the world of things, if there can be that many differences within a small confined area as to what somebody knows or doesn't know, even though no, and they might vote together and hate the Democrats. They might both be Republicans. They might both, want a certain quality of life or something, something, or the guy who lives in the city limits can still have an affinity for, he still has a fishing license. Even though he doesn't hunt, he's got a multi-purpose license and he donates to the state for fish and game. So his awareness is that of a redneck, okay? Even though he doesn't participate, he might go fishing once a year or something in somebody's pond, but he does it because he's given to the wild. That's his donation. Like buying a wildlife tag, you pay that extra to get the wildlife tag, even though he might not ever go into the wildlife. Sitting in the park might be his closest. Going out to read Bingham Park and sitting and having a picnic with the family, that might be as close as they come, to actually being in the wildlife. But that's okay. Where the redneck, lives in the wilderness and he feeds the deer every day, and, he's closer, but is one better than the other? And where is their allegiance? Their allegiance is still to Mother Earth. Their allegiance is still to wildlife. Their allegiance is still to where they live. They both live within the county. So their allegiance is somehow whether, it's to the Colquitt County Packers because the Packers are from Colquitt County, you know. And so why wouldn't you back the pack, as they say? Back the pack. Why? Because you're from Colquitt County. Of course you would back the local football team, wouldn't you? So whether you're the redneck and or whether you're in the city limits, you're gonna back the pack. So there's a commonality, and the allegiance, then the alliance, and your queen and country would be back to pack. They're playing Thomasville, back to pack. You don't want Thomasville to beat your county. No. Even though, you're old and elderly, you still want the pack to beat. You still want them to win. So you have certain alliances and allegiances, and where does your heart lie, and what are you going to actually back? And it's going to be your friends as it comes out. Are you going to back the United States of America? Well, I don't know, because it's so flimsy. And am I going to back the president? Seriously? That old fogey and who sniffs hair? No, I don't back him. So does that mean I'm anti-American? I'm anti him. you know, I'm anti. The vice president. I'm anti a lot of some of the dumb shit they're trying to pull for in the name of the United States. So, but am I anti-American? No, not really. I'm anti-government, the bullshit stuff, right? But that's America. Well, America is Colquitt County Packers. America is the redneck and the southern boy living in town. Oh, we almost got a 20 coming up. Ooh, I got to reload. So, you know, where are our alliances? Our alliances are, hey, that way. Sorry, it's about. After start the attack, love, shine. So to me, listening to y'all and being here for discussion and be able to have this discussion of any kind. And thank you, YouTube, and thank you to the AI and all that kind of stuff. But you know, I am an American because I live here, born here. That's a fact. Can trace some of my history back to the Cherokee. My grandmother, my great grandmother, and my great great grandmother were all Cherokee. So I do have Cherokee in me, although they don't want to agree to that because I don't know my grandmother, great grandmother's name because it's on the Lee side of the family. But anyway, but that's all I need to know. So what's important is that I do have history of Native American. That's all I need. How much? Don't care. Is it one drop? Is it 100 drops? Is it a gallon? Don't care. But when somebody asks me now, what race am I? Instead of putting white or Caucasian, I put down Native American or other. And then I write it in Native American, Cherokee. And so now I'm not just a white person anymore. I have changed my designation because of what I learned about my lineage. I never knew y'all actually existed for real like that. I was winning the lottery of all lotteries. Well, that's cool. There is an allegiance right there. It's 4:20. Yep, it's 2:20 right now. So on the dot. Smoke if you got them. So our alliance is friendship. Our alliance is sharing good energy. You know, our alliance is sharing smiles. My alliance with y'all is to point out dumb shit along the way. My allegiance is to the universe to learn as much as I can and for them to point out dumb shit to me so I can point the dumb shit out to y'all. Like, ain't that just some dumb shit? Yeah. Did you see what that dumb shit did? Yeah. That dumb shit, some dumb shit, right? Goodness gracious me. Oh, be careful there, Duggar. He found the rest of his T-bone and chewed on it a little bit today. He got a hold of something and threw up in 3 places by the door. And I mean, I don't know where he got all that which he threw up, but it was nasty. Oh. And me having to clean it up. Just, well, at least he don't poo or pee on the floor. So, that he's a good dog. And simply because he got sick and I couldn't let him out is not his fault. You know what I mean? Hey, Steve, you're up late. I'm a what? A Heinz 57? Is that what you say? Must, because I have a lot of different. Yep. I love walking in the creek. Yeah, my creek's really low right now, and it would be the best time to walk it. But I've got basically a sandy bottom. But there are interesting things like roots, and because there's a lot of sand in the river, um, it will sandblast pieces of wood into odd shapes and things. And it's like driftwood on the beach kind of thing. I'm Seneca, and something I can't read that. I can't pronounce it either. Yeah, the stories I've been reading on Robert's show has been from Seneca um, myths and legends. By the way, the last 10 episodes at least have been Seneca stories. So when I think of the old term in Queen and Country, I don't know if they still use it. And it was in one of it's been in lyrics of one of the Ian Andersons of Jethro Tull, one of their songs, and I can't remember the name of the song. It might be Queen and Country, might be the name of the song. It was on one of the later albums, but I can't tell you which one of those either. Um, for Queen and Country in the long and dying day. Anyway, but and I'm off key. But my family is screwed up. My son and daughter, and there are no alliances or allegiances there. And I'm sad that it turned out this way. But I can't bitch about it because it is what it is. And do I wish it were different? Yes. Is it going to be different? Probably not. Um, am I going to lose? I lost a lot of sleep over trying to fix my family issues and try to bring it together, and it just didn't work because they weren't interested in bringing it together. So I was just wasting my time and energy and hope. I just the hope that it would come together, the hope that I could make it work, and then it becomes hopeless. So change priorities so that there are people who are like family, who are like my son and daughter, who are, much more receptacle, to come and visit me or to call me on the phone or to, whatever. Take me to the doctor when it was necessary. And bring me home too. So with that said, that's family. So family has changed, but I still have family. Are they blood? No, but they're family. You all are family. And the help and the prayers that I've gotten from my hospital stays and so forth. God bless y'all. And that's why I continue to pray each and every day that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. And and I don't mean this in a rude way, but it is my duty to do this. It is my duty to pray. And like I said before, I accept it, right? Not a problem. It is what it is. So, and I'm peace of mind, peace of spirit. I've accepted this job. Um, so where do my alliances or allegiances lie in that respect with the Creator? There are angel beings that pop in once in a while and help us out and help to guide us. But basically, where is my allegiance? It's to the Creator. Well, what about Jesus? Well, what about him? Well, what about your alliance? Do you have any allegiance? Well, yes, I have an allegiance to the Christos. I do, and to those folks that are, that are true Christ folk, not necessarily Christians, but I am a warrior for Christ. Okay, not necessarily the Bible or all this other. I am a warrior for Christ. Okay. Well, isn't that Jesus? Well, yeah, but I'm a warrior for Christ. Make no bones about it. I'm stand up, and I will argue with the best of them. Well, you believe in the Creator, yeah. So, well, how can you believe in Christ? Because He believed in the Creator. Duh. The universe, the one that creates us all. Of course, the two can exist. I don't have to argue whether or not one is better, does one, no. I am a warrior for Christ, no problem, because I believe in those teachings that he put out there, being love and be at peace, and um, and to turn the other cheek, kind of thing, and to believe that there were supernatural things like he could walk on water and stuff. And so he showed us that there were different things. But do I believe in the Bible and all this other kind of? No. It's a good read, but no. But do I believe in Christ? Yes. And the goodness? Yes. Absolutely. Well, what about St. Paul? What about him? What about St. Peter? What about him? I'm not a warrior for them. I'm a warrior for Christ. So where's my allegiance? It's there in respect to what kind of religion do you have? Well, I am that, a warrior for Christ. But I'm an agnostic in a lot of other ways, or probably most other ways, because I believe in aliens and stuff. Um, and I believe we've been having help for a long, long time, you know. But wait a minute, then that means you can't be a warrior for Christ. Well, why not? Wasn't Christ part of the Charistus group, which is angels, which is one of the groups that have been coming here for thousands of years in their spaceship? Okay. Yes, wait a minute. I do believe in that, you know, and I do have faith in that. I don't have to worry about somebody arguing me out of my position because I'm not going to change my position. I have, I'm settled. I believe it. I believe it. I believe it. So there you go. Am I going to try to talk you into believing what I believe? No, I will discuss it. It's up to you to make your own mind up, you know. Well, do you believe in what Dante says? Do you believe in the Christus? Do you believe in the angels and that there is an angel group with spaceships who have a big base on Jupiter? Do you believe in any of that? You know, well, I do because I've seen and heard and smelled and learned and I just believe it. So, do I have an allegiance to God and country? Not necessarily, but I do have an allegiance to the goddess and to the planet Earth and to, you know, the spirit of the earth, of Mother Earth, with the respect like native folks, most native folks had, and a lot of them still do. But that closeness with the earth is closeness to the universe, is closeness to spirituality. When you start learning and understanding these things, if you're on any kind of a shaman walk, you will find that all these things are connected. And when you do, you can feel the difference between the connections, but you can feel that they're still connected. There are some folks who are only focused on the evil deeds of people. And well, Dave, you don't talk enough about the evil deeds that are going on. I don't want to talk about the evil deeds that are going on in the world. Why? I see them. I'm not blind for crimony's sake. No. But why should I talk about it? Everybody else is talking about all the nasty shit that's going on and the killing and the this and the murder and did you hear about this? Yeah. Well, what about that? Yeah. Well, why don't you talk about it? Because everybody else is. That's why. You know, I want to try to talk about something that's more positive or something, you know, hey, them people over there that focus on killing and that talk about it all the time, you know, they're talking in the negative all the time. I don't want to talk in the negative. I want to try to speak in the positive. Yes, there's lots of nasty shit going on. I'm not blind to it, but I don't have to speak about it all the time. I choose not, I'm not ignoring it. But what can I do about it? Well, a bunch of people were killed in a bus accident. That's really bad. I'm sorry. But why do I have to talk about all those people who were killed in a bus accident? Because I can't do anything about it. That doesn't mean I'm cold hearted, not in the least. But I can't do anything about it. Number one, they're dead. I can say, you know, let's pray for the families of the people who died in the bus accident. You know, but I don't have to dwell on the bus accident. Well, it was a thing, and all these people, and you get, okie doke, all right. I, I, but why do you have to keep talking about? Well, all those people died, and all the families, and all the okay. And 2 days later, they're still talking about the people that died and the families at the bus accident, and that's all they won't shut up about it. You know, focusing on the negative, focusing on the evil of things. People died, their families. I know, but there's really nothing I can do about it. But what about we can send money and we can get okay. But I really don't have the money and the funds. I'm just barely taking care of myself. But if you want to knock yourself out of it, makes you feel better. But you know, don't get on to me because I'm not as hyped up about what you think is important. Well, it's these people who died and their families. I know. You told me, well, we should do some okey doke. But, well, how come you don't feel the same way I do? Because they don't. That's why. It's as simple as that. And don't think me a bad person because I don't feel the same way you do about this. I I'm sad. I do have a certain empathy for and but there's nothing I can do about it. You want me to send $2? If you come up with a fund, okay. But there's nothing I can do about it. But there are other folks who are. There are local folks in their communities who are helping each other out, like we did when the hurricane came through and the lights were out, and blah blah blah. We helped each other out. Rob came and cut the tree that was down across my driveway. I didn't even know he had come, and he come and had cut it up and moved it out of the way for me. Good neighbor, good friend. Amen. Thank you, Jesus. And all you folks out there was praying against me that I couldn't get my chainsaw started. Yeah, I still can't get it to start. Dang it. Um, what I was supposed to went to school every day on the bus, get free breakfast and lunch. I'd hang out. Parents found out I was alone. Common ground. But so, off on a slight tangent, but family and friends and who are you aligned with? Well, as soon as I had made up my mind and quit being wishy washy about spirit wise, when I made up my mind and are you a child of God, Dave? Yeah. Are you a child of the universe? Yeah. Do you believe in the Bible? Sort of. You're a Catholic? Yeah. Altar boy and all that? Yeah. So you've had visions of Mary and conversations and with angels and such? Yeah. So you do believe in that? Yeah. But you're not necessarily a believer in the Bible? Nope. So what do you believe in? Well, I've been some of the teachings of Buddha, and being at peace, and some of the Hindu stuff is pretty cool, and um, so I don't believe in any one as like the gospel. So, well, do you believe in Christ? Yes. Do you believe in some of the stuff that Christ did? Yes. Do you believe in the message that Jesus brought? Yes. So does that make you a Christian? No. Well, what does it make you, Dave? Well, because Christians all believe they do the Bible thumping thing, and I don't believe in the Bible thumping thing. I mean, I got two Bibles right over here, and I've read them, and I refer to them, and I have studied them, but as a true Christian, if that's what you want me to call myself, I would have to say no because I don't carry a Bible around with me. I have a cross and I believe in Christ, and you know, but then that does, well, would you defend your ideas of Christ? Yes. So that makes me a warrior for Christ. Absolutely. And I don't need, I've realized I didn't need anything else. That was my decision. Well, then what are you in this world? Well, I am a warrior for Christ because I want to stand up for those basic principles. You know, church, no. Bible, no. Christ, yes. Interesting, right? So, but once I made up that decision, because everybody else was trying to put me in some kind of box, and what religion are you? And Dave, one of these days you're going to die because you're getting old, and somebody needs to speak over your grave or whatever. And if any last words? Are you Catholic or Baptist or what are you? Non-denominational? Well, we can cover that too nowadays. All right. Um, But wait a minute. So, but what am I? So they're in for me, and I know a lot of other people. We have to find our self identity. We have to find out who are we. And so, in who am I? What am I in the spiritual sense? Well, I'm a shaman in training. Okay, but there's more to it than that for me because I was an altar boy and all that, right? And I do believe in Christ, and I do believe in these other things, right? But I believe that Christ was a shaman, you know. So in that respect, so I have a high regard for Christ as a shaman. Wow. In the end of it, he learned how to walk through walls, but they hung him on a cross just before it. So, but this having made up my decision as to who or what I was in that category, I was like good to go. Now, I don't know what that means for other people, that if you have to find out who you are in that respect, whether you, for whatever reason, you know, well, I'm a Buddhist or I'm a this or I'm an agnostic, so there's always some kind of category somebody's asking you to describe yourself. So when I can confidently say I'm a warrior for Christ, they just go, and it kind of shuts them up. And I don't have to go in, I can go into explanation, but, you know, well, that means you're a Christian. And I go, sort of, you know, and then I follow it up with, I don't ascribe to any particular church. I don't have any particular faith, but I am a warrior for Christ. Oh, so that's hard for them to argue. Well, wait a minute. You just said, I said it, I'm standing up for Christ. I'm going to stand up for those teachings and what he stood for. Absolutely. But that's my alignment. But I still believe in the Almighty Creator. I believe in the Creator of all things and the Great Spirit. What do you mean, the Great Spirit? Oh, that's some. Oh, hang on. Hang on. Wait. To back that bus up a minute. Because what do the Catholics believe in? The Holy Spirit. There's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Holy Spirit. Ain't that like Great Spirit? Holy Spirit, Great Spirit. Don't see much of a difference there. You're both talking about the Spirit in the sky. Gonna go up when I die. And when I die and they lay me to rest, I'm gonna go to the place that is best. I am crazy. We might be friends. What the person I was brought me to be. My parents are Catholic, especially my mother. Love that song. And Norman Greenbaum, is that right? A spirit in the sky. I'm gonna go up. Spirit in the sky. Gonna go up when I die. Gonna go and lay me to rest. I'm gonna go to the place that is best. Gonna go to the place that is best. Ding, 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 ding. Anyway, I got that playing, and in the back of my head now, and coming out my mouth too. I've been singing a song from probably only Amy Winehouse. Oh, George Harrison. Yeah. Uh huh. Well, I'm an old Beatles fan. I mean, I remember I had the first, probably had one of the first LPs too. But I wanna hold your hand. I wanna hold your hand. And he said to me, I wanna be your man. And come give me Diner Hand. They had sang, come give me, I wanna hold your hand in German. And it was on the back of one of the 45s back in the day. So I could sing, you know, I could sing it in German back in the day. Come give me Diner Hand, the Beatles singing it. I mean, it was the whole thing, but it was in German, because they had went to Berlin and whatever. And anyway, I found that interesting. But I'd been about 1963 ish. Uh, yeah, George Harrison, My Sweet Lord, you know. While my guitar gently weeps, I look at you all and I see it's been turning. Still my guitar gently weeps. I don't know how. I can't hit that note. I have to change keys and drop it down. But so where and for y'all, I pose this, and does it matter if you have an allegiance to anything? Well, it does if to your friends and maybe your family, and whether it's your blood family or extended family. You know, um, do we have to have an allegiance to this stupid United States government? To the United States and the people within its boundaries, I have a compassion for. But for the people in Washington, D.C., running this crappy mess, no. Uh-uh. Would I stand behind the president? No. Would I stand behind the vice president? No. Would I stand behind half of the people in Congress? No. Because they're idiots, but they represent America. Ain't that a sad fact? You know, but does it mean that I'm anti American? No, it shouldn't. But there are folks who would claim, well, Dave, you're anti American because you don't support your government. I don't support them insane idiots. No, I didn't vote for that guy. I didn't vote for that one, And now at least the one I didn't vote for, one of the two, ain't doing such a half bad job, you know. And I'm like, well, all right. I'm glad he's doing a better job than some of his counterparts as a senator. Good on him. Honest, good on him. Didn't and he's from my area up around Albany. So, he's a state senator for the US Senator. So, oh, good on you. You're actually doing what you said you'd do. Good. Democrat did. He said he was going to do this and this and this, and he has so far. So, the other guy, and he's playing the black card. Ooh, there's an owl out back. I mean, right out back. There he goes again. Owls are supposed to be harbingers of information, not necessarily good luck and not necessarily bad. See if it hoots again. Um, could you hear the owl from here? Or you mean you could hear other owls? Dang, my tablet locked up. Well, dang it, Steve. They get to talking up and down the river. You'll hear one upstream, you'll hear one downstream, and there's usually one in this area. And they'll and they do this clucking with their in their throat, and and then they'll hoot again, and then this one will hoot, and then it'll hoot twice, and then this one way down there, and then it's cool to hear the owls up and down the river here. Oh, the bunny squeals. You wouldn't think of that, rabbits make much noise, but when they're getting eaten by a hawk, I haven't seen an owl do it, but I have seen a hawk do it. And many years ago, right out here in the yard, there's a bunny hopping along in the field, and this hawk flew down out of nowhere without a sound, just grabbed that bunny rabbit and was pushing all its weight it could and barely cleared the fence out there. I mean, that bunny rabbit's ass hit that barbed wire as it was going over. It was a big bunny rabbit, and it's a big hawk, but he barely got that bunny rabbit over that fence. I laughed my ass off watching that. It's if you could have seen it, it was like you that hawk was just like, come on, lift. I need lift. Come on. And then yeah, just got it over that fence, I tell you. But anyway, and I saw something the other day that, oh my goodness, I could not believe there is a rabbit on my property. I was wondering what that thing was up there on the hill. I was like, damn, it ain't a cat, and Duggar's going crazy over it. And what the hell is that thing up there? It's a rabbit. I haven't had rabbits on the property in years. It's too flooded in the back for rabbits to live for long. Because about the time they get established, the river will flood and off they go downstream somewhere. But I actually have rabbits up here in the field now because of the way I've been taking care of it and how the forest has grown up here on this. I'll have to figure out. It's probably 2 acres up here. The from the top of the driveway down. Actually, that's 300 feet. It'd be more like 3.5 acres. Almost 4, come to think of it. Anyway, so there, my forest up there. There's underbrush, and now that I've got my mower, I can go in there and mow in through certain places. And it's that type of habitat that rabbits need, and other wildlife too. Quail would love it the way I've got it mowed right now, but I haven't seen wild quail in quite a while. But um, my affiliation, for me is like to the land here. And now that I got, a lawn tractor that I can pull my wagon around and take little tools and things and maintain stuff now. And where before I had to walk everywhere, now I can ride and carry my implements and do a little work and sit down. I can take water container, so I can do a little work detail. So, my affiliation back to the earth which I haven't lost, but now it's changed because of an implement, to just carry stuff around for me, you know. Wow, that my interaction now. And what does that mean in the long run? It means that, you know, I can be more engaged with the universe instead of just sitting looking out the window. What do you mean? Well, I can engage with nature. I can trim the trails. I can make it better for the rabbits. I can make it easier for the deer to get around so I can look at them and set up the trail cams, and if I need to shoot one of them, I could do that too, but that's way down low on the list. It's more of being able to watch and see and maybe invite somebody else down. Y'all are always invited, right? But there are folks who are like would rent property out to go hunting because they don't have property. And before I bought this, I was in the same boat. Thank goodness I knew a couple of people that had property and did allow me to hunt. But, when I first moved up here, I used to hunt up and down the railroad tracks within the right of way on the railroad tracks. But that, they made that against the law later on. But, that was where I hunted. Um, but back to stay with alliances. So alliances are my alliances have always been with Christ. When I admitted it and stayed with it and believed it, I have faith in it. I don't doubt it. It just settled something in me. So whatever folks their journey is, when you find that thing, what for me it was the words warrior for Christ. That just settled it versus Christian or Buddhist or agnostic or whatever. Just the fact that I had something to not necessarily call myself, but an affiliation. Where is my grounding at? I'm a warrior for Christ. Okay. It pretty much states it, doesn't it? You're not for this or that. No, but Christ went to study Buddhism. I know about that. So, um, but it means I'm open to a lot of different other things. But it does involve spiritualism. It does involve helping your neighbor. What did he say when he came? He said, "Peace be unto you, my brothers and sisters." So wherever he went, it was peace be unto you. Not, hey, what's up? Peace be to you. Peace be unto you, my brothers and sisters. Oh, wow. You want peace to, yeah, I want to bring peace to your house unto you, my brothers and sisters, to both of y'all. Peace. Wow. That's kind of heavy, right? Yeah, let's sit down and drink a bottle of wine now, but peace be unto you. Okay. And thank you. And, nice message, and thorough and to the point. Peace be unto you, regardless of your faith, regardless of your political or societal bracket. Peace be unto you. I'm gonna hang out until the 20 anyway. Peace and tranquility. Yeah. So can I stand behind that as far as what Christ taught? Yeah. Because that basic statement right there, I can get behind it all day. Peace be unto you, brothers and sisters, regardless of who you are. Well, I think this way. I think, yeah, but let's be peaceable about this. We don't have to agree, but let's be at peace when we talk about it. Let's not pull out knives and unless they were going to pull out the forks too, and I don't mean to eat each other, but, pull out them knives and forks and let's sit down and have a meal and talk about stuff. Let's have a discussion. Let's see if we can't air our views and see if we can't come to some kind of middle ground here. Um, but, and this has been down through history. And I do think that there is an evil element to some of it. There is just a certain class of folk who are just not going to cooperate. I mean, they want to go out and kill and maim. I mean, in the medieval times, I mean, the witch trials, just stuff, right? They're just some folks that are just not nice. And they don't want to be nice. You know, Vlad the Impaler, he wanted to prove a point, and then he kept making points to prove more points. And then it just got to be a habit where he was just impaling people left and right just for the damn hell of it. Go put him up on a stake, wiggle, 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 wiggle. And that must have just been insanity to see, hear. I wouldn't want to watch it, but I'm sure at some point you would have had to watch it because you couldn't walk around the town without seeing somebody hanging from a pole being impaled. And they could impale you in such a way as that you would live for a while you were being impaled. It's like they could do it without hitting any major organs. What? Whoa, God almighty. So, thank goodness we don't have that kind of cruelty, at least not out in the open. But but there's always been people who wanted to hurt people, or to wipe out whole classes of people, or tribes of people, or continents of people. You know, um, and for whatever the damn reason, it was wipe them all out, men, women, and children. Wipe them all out. And in a lot of ways, there are some of those evil ways that are still about. There are still tribes in Africa that, they're, for whatever the reason, their leaders want to wipe out this other tribe. Or there are, the Kurds and these folks over in Iraq and Iran and over there, they've been wanting to kill each other for the last, several thousand years. I mean, the Palestinians and the Israelis, I mean, they all want to kill each other for whatever the reason, right? Something moving around. I don't know if it's a poltergeist or a mouse or knocked a bunch of stuff out of the the cabinet in there the other day. And I mean, just toppled out onto the ground. Like, what the hell? Anyway, a little old tiny mouse is not going to do what happened in the kitchen. But anyway, so, and noises in the bathroom now. I haven't seen any signs of a rat, which could have knocked this stuff down. Because usually you can hear them pattering and making noise. But there are things falling off of shelves that they're just falling off the shelves. But anyway, so for folks who are, questioning, why am I here? What is my purpose? Our purpose is to experience life. Hopefully, in that experience, you will find some kind of spiritualism. And the spiritualism can be as simple as peace be unto you, my brothers and sisters, without going namaste or anything like this. Peace be unto you. Peace be to you. And to shorten it up, however you want it. And to bring a smile and to bring peace to your neighbors or other people. And if you just practice that, you'll be a good person. You know, things could be, pissing you off and you could be in traffic and shaking your finger. But if you just think to yourself, peace be unto you, myself, calm down. There's people in traffic and horns are honking. Peace be to all of you. So if you can bring it within yourself and you understand it, and also then the law of one, to do no harm. And I heard somebody remark in an interview I had listened to, and they were talking about, they made this comment. They said, those people who, these folks who believe in the law of one, and, that spiritual thing and blah, 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 that's so alien, as in alien UFOs, and the blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Hang on. Whoa, just back that one up now. Because I think it's because of David Wilcox and the folks with, Gaia Planet thingy, and him talking about the law of one. But here's the thing, but somehow it's related to UFOs. If you believe in the simple thing of law of one, wait a minute. I don't know. I have believed in the law of one theory for a long time, without having to worry about all the commandments and who does what and everything. If you're just, you know, decide not to harm anyone, it covers everything, you know. Well, what's wrong with that? Wait, now that law of one is a religion related to aliens. I'm like, what? Wait a minute, the law of one is a religion? Wait, hang on. How can it be a religion? It's a it's a simple stated fact. If you do no harm to anyone, that's the law of one. That's a religion? What? Yeah. So I'm like, and I couldn't believe that how they stated it. So, and it was that the way they stated it was in a derogatory manner. So that if somehow they didn't mention David Wilcox or any of them folks from Gaia TV or anything, but it was inferred because they're the ones that talk about law of one. He has over the years, and maybe it's because I've listened to him, but I heard it before I got onto David Wilcox. And that, instead of a bunch of commandments I command you to do, if you follow the law of one, which is to do no harm, then you're really in the right book. And if you do no harm and bring peace unto others when you see them or meet them, then, you're in that Christ like sort of realm. So, isn't that what the intent was? So, why should I know or do any more if I'm bring peace and I'm at peace myself and I don't do any harm? Then, and wait a minute, now we have to call that a religion. Really? I thought it was just like a state of being, a state of mind. You just are a person who abides by the law of one. That's all. You believe that to be true? Yes. Why? Because I don't want to harm anybody. So now, because I don't want to harm anybody, I'm now in a religion. Wait, whoa, who tagged that onto me? Is it a 20 yet? It's 218, 318. What is it? We're getting close. 310. Okay. So we got 10 more minutes. So, but in this strange world of stuff, and see, that's why when I made up years ago, it's been at least 10 years ago now that I made up my mind about the warrior for Christ. That just settled it for me. Well, I believe in the law of one. Yeah, but I believe in upholding and but I don't have to brag about it all the time. I don't have to, yeah, I'm a Christian. Yeah, I'm a dude. No, I just, these are my core beliefs, you know. But I am still a shaman in training because I want to walk that red road. I want to know what it's like to walk that red road as my ancestors did. So, but I'm still a warrior for Christ, and because I'm still working for the Great Spirit, or in Catholic terms, I'm still working for the Holy Spirit, you know. Do I have my bases covered as far as religions go? Do I need a religion? I didn't know I needed a religion. I didn't know that damn, the law of one was now a religion. And that there was a bunch of religious kooks out there who believe in the law of one. What? You'd rather give me 10 commandments, several of which just refer to God. Do you believe in the Great Spirit? Do you believe in a higher spirit? Yes. Okay. Well, aren't you calling and call it a God? No. Well, why not? Because it's the Great Spirit. Yeah, but ain't that God? If you want it to be. But the Great Spirit is God. If you want it to be. Well, wait a minute now. Don't argue with me. The Great Spirit has got to be God. It's got to be, right? Not necessarily. But the Creator, the Great Spirit, that's God, right? If you want it to be. Well, you're confusing. No, you're the one that's confused. I'm talking about the Great Spirit, the Creator. You are talking about God. Different things. What? Yeah, but you might not be able to quite comprehend or understand where I'm coming with this, but yeah, to me, God's a separate thing from the Creator. How dare you? Yep. To me, there's a difference. No. Yep. And you're one of those that just believes in the law of one? Yep. Peace be unto you, my brother. What? Now I'm really confused. So where's your allegiance? Where's your alliance? Where is your for queen and country in this day and time? Do we need a queen? I mean, there's RuPaul, and there's all these queens that I can't believe that they put this like on any TV, but on like live TV. RuPaul's drag queens, like, oh my God. Now, I have known some drag queens in my time, and the one was absolutely gorgeous. You would not know, honest to goodness, that this gentleman was a woman. But he dressed as a man most of the time. But he was he was a cross dresser, but he did it as a gig in Tampa at the Horny Bull. But he came in and he used to come into the loan company that I worked for dressed in drag. And oh my God, you talk about, you would not know that this was a guy. So, and that was in 1972. Okay, before I moved up here. So the idea that, I have met and known some of these people, and have done business, as in, them come in and pay off their loan kind of thing, business. But having known folks in Tampa, having known folks up here, the gay, and also, who love to dress and drag, and very intent, but not flamboyant to the point where you see in these bigger cities. And I have applauded them for who they are and how they dress. The young black man up in Cordele, Georgia, when I worked at the nursing home there, when he dressed in drag, he was absolutely beautiful. I'm like, God damn, you clean up good. Wow. He was serious about it. And all his black community up there knew him, and they at least knew of him if they didn't know him personally. He was a very personable kind of guy. And but Cordele, small town in middle South Georgia, sort of thing. They're on the interstate and all, and blah blah blah, major thoroughfare, and peanuts and popcorn, candy doubles. But anyway, but large black community there, and the fact that he was this gay man that was so flamboyant, and that they knew him in the community as a flamboyant black gay man, that was, that dressed in drag a lot on the weekends, most all the time. So it wasn't allowed at work, but when he went home, he had his hair ready, and he jumped into drag. So I've seen nothing wrong with it, and I've known, like I said, I've known people over the years that have are are that way. How but to see these other people act it, where he just was it, he wasn't acting. Where some of these other folks, they just absolutely see like they're acting. And why am I on the subject again? Because I think that some of these folks need to be able to find out that, like, he dressed in drag, he'd do it. People around him, he just did it. Versus, well, I'm going to dress in drag, and I have to tell everybody, and I have to. No, just do it. Just be it. Don't worry about all this other stuff. So with spirituality, it's sort of this. I guess I'm trying to draw a correlation to the gender issue thing. No, I'm trying to say that just be it. If that's what you believe, if you don't want to harm anybody, then you're already part of the club. You don't need to join anything. You don't need to be baptized. You already are part of the club. And you have probably been part of the club in a previous life. Chances are the way you feel now is tagged to a previous life. Because I didn't want to harm anybody. I don't think, actually, I think I was a real butthole in a previous life. And my prison time here was to fix that shit, for my own karma. But not everybody, has had to come back for the same reasons. But I still think that the me of 1800s folk, that I still think that in my own way, um, I was spiritual. And it was when I got really drunk on the moonshine, on that white liquor, that I went, batshit crazy. And I also abused a woman, especially a half breed um, Chickasaw woman, uh, Creek woman, that I think I took as my squaw. And I didn't treat her very well, especially when I got drunk. Now, so I'm here, but I think there's a part of me that says, I don't know how he got killed, or, that she should have shot him or killed him or stabbed him or something for how he treated her. But I don't know if he got drunk and fell to the swamp and something happened to him, or he got shot, killed, murdered, or died of old age. But I think that who I was in a previous life, I think that at some point there was regret. And I say that in that, though a lot of women too, but a lot of men, they will have done something and then later on they won't talk about it and they won't this, and they actually are full of regret, at least about a particular item. It might not be that their whole life, or they regretted not doing a thing, or whatever it might be. But everybody carries a little bit of regret about something. And it might be, man, I regret I didn't take that chance and go to Alaska that time. Boy, that's a big regret. I was going to go with a Tlingit elder and be able to sit in with the store with the legend keepers. Oh my God! And I turned it down. This is the truth. I turned it down. I turned it down. What? Yeah, I turned it down. I didn't think I had enough money, but I had credit cards at the time. I should have done it, but that's a regret. There are other things too that I regret, but we can't carry these regrets. We can't hold them with us, so they'll tie us down. So, but you know, if you have regret in your soul, the regret that you don't feel spiritual enough, or maybe you don't do enough spiritually, you don't deserve to be saved. Wait a minute. Are you a peaceable person? Yeah. Do you start fights with anybody? No. I have had arguments with some folks, but I always try to calm it down. Okay. So you pretty much live at peace and spiritually? Yeah, I get angry once in a while and pissed off in traffic, but yeah, pretty much. Do you wish at any time to hurt anyone? Oh, heaven no. I hate to kill a cockroach, you know, we don't have mouse traps. We have live catches and we take them out and so you wouldn't harm anything. No. Well, then you're already in the right camp. You already qualify. What? Yep. If you continue to be that type of person, you got it. It can't be. Yeah, it's the truth. Well, but wait a minute. I mean, well, have you ever went out to try to hurt anyone? No. You want to murder anybody? Heavens, no. Well, if somebody broke down on the side of the road, do you pass them by? Do you to stop to help? Well, I at least roll down the window and ask if there's anything I can do. I might not be able to stop and get out, but I'll roll down the window. Okay, fair. In this day and time, that's fair enough. How can I call somebody? Can I whatever? Is it time? I didn't miss it, did I? And I was waiting. Oh, by 5 minutes. Oh, I was sitting here yapping. Oh yeah, you said 3:21. I couldn't figure out. I was like 3:21. Oh my God, that's the time. Okay, and I've been waiting to get stoned. I'm thinking of somebody I know up in Atlanta, and when I was up there with my sister, we had a conversation sitting outside, and it was like, well, well, my question was, well, Do you go to church? Well, no, because my mama didn't really raise me to go to church, but I said, well, good. You don't have to go to church, because you seem very spiritual. You have this place here in the backyard, and you feed the birds, and you bring in, you've adopted a wounded dog kind of thing who looks a lot like Duggar. God Almighty, the same kind of dog and everything, and black with what white with black spots. I mean, I could believe how close Duggar this dog was. And so, and talking about spirituality, is like, well, I don't smoke. Um, I've never had any, never smoked any pot or anything like that, or I've had some alcohol, and I'll drink a beer once in a while, but I don't like to get drunk, and my four kids are my life, and that's what I work for, and you know if one of them's got a ball game or this thing or whatever, and so I'm very much involved, and and I'm involved in through that I'm involved in the community, and with my job I'm involved with people, and which involves me with in the community, and so I try to be pleasant because of my job. I don't want to get a bad reputation, and it's easy to do when you're in the real estate kind of sort of business she was in, and so you have to be intelligent and show yourself and be positive, and that's how and so that's how people knew her and know her, and she would get referrals from these people. And so so how do you live? Well, I try to bring peace, and I smile at folks, and so, and you don't want to hurt anybody, no, and but if somebody was to hurt, my family, I would get ballistic and stand up for them. Well, that's different, but you're not openly wanting to hurt, no. You're not working for any organization that wants to hurt people, no. You're not doing, no. So answered all the questions. And so my remark to her was that, you're already close to God. You've already got your ticket if there was a need for one. And she was like, well, people tell me I need to go to church. And I'm like, why? Well, I need to read the Bible. Like, why? Do you believe in helping people? Yeah, do you? And you do. I remember that she helped a friend of the family's, and never looked back, never asked any questions, just helped them out with several $100s and said, "Here, pay me back when you can," and that was that, because the person needed it. And wow, so with that kind of person who you are. Oh my goodness. So people say you need to go to church? Yeah. Why? Well, because they said I need Jesus in my heart. I'm like, you've already done these things, honey. You've already got Jesus in your heart. You're already there. Well, what do you mean? Because this is what he taught. You're already doing it. You don't need to go to church. What are they going to teach you? You're already doing it. How that I don't think church is going to teach you how to do it any better. They just want some of your money, and to make you feel like you have to worship something. You know, you're already close to God because of what you're already doing. You're living a clean life. You're not picking on anybody. You help other people. You do it with a smile, honey. What do you mean you need something else? You got it. Keep up the good work. So we need to praise the people who are, I don't want to, getting by. That's sort of a bad way to put it. They're getting by. And what I mean by getting by, They're getting by without having to go to church. Oh, shame on me. They're getting by without going to church. Oh, they need to go to church. Nah. If they're doing these good deeds and their hearts are true, going to a church ain't going to change that. Maybe singing but you can sing other songs, that can be just as uplifting or um, induce a feeling of pride or warmth or whatever. But what about God? What about him or her or it? What about God? Well, but so they're doing good deeds and they don't want to harm anybody. And they're one of those people from the law of one. Oh my goodness. And, well, but they don't have God in their life. Huh, yeah, they do. Well, what do you mean? Where is God? Because they're living it. Their spirit is of the great spirit. Because of there's a something by your works you shall be by your works and deeds you shall be known. So if you're doing good deeds for other people and you're live, then that's how people are going to know you. So and if those are the things that in different religions they have written down that you're supposed to be doing good things and you are, then you fit the criteria. You fit it. You are it. You're doing it. Um, so ain't that if that's what God commanded, then you're doing it. So because you're doing it, you must have God in your life. Wait a minute, wait, hang on. Don't you be talking that shit to me. If you're doing these things that God commanded, then therefore you must have God in your life. Because of your acts, you shall be known. And you're acting this way naturally. So you are naturally close to God. Oh my God, it can't be that fucking simple. Yes, it can. Yes, it can. My grandma Raleigh that I've talked about, she was close to God all the time. And when she passed away, she glowed. Her aura was all out in here before she passed away. Bessie, on the other hand, her negative energy, it it looked evil. It did. There was no light around her when she passed. My adopted mother, Bessie. But Grandma Raleigh proved to me that you could do it right, and and it be and do it simply. And I've met other people along the way, and I'm hoping in some small way that I can emulate, my grandma. In that, now I don't have a bunch of kids running around, but I do. Rob's kids, I want to go over. I told him last week. I said I feel like it's my grandchild that has just been born, even though we're not blood. I feel like it's my grandchild. I'm as proud as if it were my grandchild. And I want to go out and hang out with the kids and take Duggar back over there. But I haven't been feeling that well myself, and other things have gotten in the way too. But it's still there. So my extended family, and I'm remembering my grandma Raleigh. There were kids in the neighborhood like right next door, and they would bug her all the time and come over, Miss Mary, everybody called her Granny after a while. And so then there were kids down the street, in this neighborhood. And so they would all get together and go to the swimming pool that was in the backyard. So Granny had a full life with, grandchildren that weren't her kids, but who they considered as they grew up, Granny to be their grandmother in a way, and respected her and always listened. If Granny said no, she meant no. Now, it didn't mean that Granny carried a switch or a stick, but if she said no and raised her voice, you just did what Granny said. That's all. You just respected her. That's all. It was that simple. You just respect Granny. And she carried it with her where she went. It was just simple. She was a little short lady, but and a little rotund, and her cheeks would flush red when she was a little embarrassed or whatever, which she could do easily get embarrassed. But the kids loved her and they respected her. And if she said no, that was usually it. She didn't have to. Now she might have said, "I told you not to do that." Now, like they're jumping in the pool or something like that, or some of the stuff that the kids would get into. And but kids are kids, and we'd sit in the living room. She goes, those kids are just like you were when you was kids, jumping in and out of the pool when we lived in town. And she talked about it, and just like them kids was her kids. So to her, she knew who the Great Spirit was. She saw it and lived it through her plants and through where she lived out in the country. And when she passed, her spirit was clear. There were no regrets. There was nothing else that she could have done. She was old, she had cancer, and it was time for her to go. And she decided, instead of fighting and fighting some more, that she just wanted to go naturally. And she did. There's integrity in that. But also, she had settled who she was a long time ago without having to say, well, she believed in the Bible, she believed in the church, she believed in doing good, and she believed in all these things. But she didn't believe that going to church every Sunday was what she needed to do. And she was good about it. There was us Catholics always running in and out and going to church. And Granny, there were, no one was to try to make her feel guilty. But it was, Granny, you want to go to church with us? No. Okie doke. See you after Mass. And that was that. But she was one of the holiest people I ever met, spiritually. So, how do you get there from here? Follow them simple rules, believe it, understand it, but do it. You got to live it. You can't just talk it. You can't talk, you gotta walk the talk. You can't just talk it. If you're on the red road and this is what you're supposed to do, there's simple rules, but you got to abide by them. You have to live it. You have to believe it. You have to have faith that in the universe of things, the Great Spirit has a plan for all of us. Don't quite know what the plan is, but if you believe it involves peace between peoples, if you believe that it it involves not harming other people and other things, if you believe in these simple, basic things and these rules to live by, and you do, don't let people shame me in the fact that do you worship God? No. Do you worship the Great Spirit? No. Well, what about that? I give thanks to the Creator all the time, but I don't worship anything. Sorry. I will give thanks always. I might burn some sage or maybe give a piece of meat outside to the cats or something. I will offer something to the Creator via animals or birds or something, or maybe just a prayer. Um, smoke the peace pipe. But in that, I'm not going to worship anything. And if you're spending a lot of your time worshiping stuff, maybe you should just stop and reconsider that. Just why are you worshiping? Well, I give praise to God. Okie doke. I'm all right. I give praise along with it. I ain't going to worship. Well, if you go to church, worship, no, I ain't going to worship with you. I will pray with you. I will give thanks with you, but I ain't going to worship with you. Sorry, that's out. But it's up to you. If you consider that's what you need to do, then do all the worshiping you want to. But I will give offerings and I will sing praise to the Lord with you, but I am not going to worship. Give thanks, absolutely. Give thanks to the universe always. I'm so glad I'm still here after all this mess this last year. I absolutely am. And to be turning 71 in a couple of weeks, I'm so glad that I might actually make it to the birthday. Holy crap in the bag. My wish is that I would like to be able to put my kayak in. That's what I want for my birthday. Is to be able to get in it in the kayak and maybe get out of it too. But the fact that I'm still breathing, and like after all that's happened, holy mackerel, give thanks and, and appreciation to the universe, to the doctors and nurses who helped me, to the neighbors who brought me, took me back me, to all of the above. Thank you, thank you, thank you, to the universe. Thank you. Did God have anything to do with it specifically? No. There were a couple of angels that helped out, I can guarantee. But was God directly involved with this? Praise God for what? Well, God helped you through it. Nah, the doctors did, the nurses did, the angels did. My belief in the Great Spirit helped me through this. But I don't see where God had a damn thing to do with this, no offense. But you're still alive because of God. God. No, sorry. It wasn't God. Just, well, what about the creator? Well, maybe. The angels helped, yes. Were the doctors, were their hands guided by the angels and by the Great Spirit? Yes. But God, where I didn't see where he was involved in any of this. I'm sorry, you know. Don't mean to burst your bubble, but my belief is nope. Wherever God was, he would had nothing to do with this. Angels and the spirits and good prayer, yes. God, eh. And don't get mad at me, because that's, well, but God had everything to, okay, if you say so. And why do I believe this? Partially in that people are praying to Jesus all the time. Somebody asked me, well, didn't you pray to who? Did you ask for help from anybody? And I was like, I just asked the creator, to the spirits, whoever's out there, you know, I obviously need help. But did I pray to Jesus or to Mary or to God specifically? No. When I was laying on the floor in there, nope. I just said, wow, I'm going to need some help up off the floor. you know, I fell out here yesterday trying to weed eat a little bit and trying to get my strength back and fell flat on my back into the other flower bed there, my rock garden flower bed. Just lost my balance. I knew I was falling and couldn't help it. It wasn't like the blackout here in the bathroom. But all the years I've been around this place, I have not fallen that many times. And I rolled over in the flower bed and got myself up, but I thought, well, that's just interesting. I'm not normally into falling. So I think I'm going to start practicing falling because I used to do tumbling and gymnastics and stuff way back in the day. And there's certain ways that you can fall that you won't get hurt. And when I did stage comedy and things where you had to fall and so you could land on the floor, but you didn't hurt yourself. A prat fall, as they called them. But so, but anyway, so but in this, so my bare beliefs, I believe in the Holy Spirit. You know, um, I think God just gets in the way. You getting tired? Me too. I will never. My mom had cancer too. My mom's mother. Yeah, my grandma Raleigh died of cancer, and my adopted mother Bessie died of cancer. They took almost every organ out of her. She died a horrible death. And me and my sister would sort of have agreed that some of it she deserved because she was so mean and rotten and just and evil. The way she treated my sister and how she locked my sister in the closet and stuff and just and things she did to me and stuff and it wasn't she wasn't on the good side, not at all. So, but did I want her to suffer from cancer? No. I wanted her to fix her evil ways before she died, but she died with blackness all around her. But so anyway, I think it's an easy choice when folks say, "Well, why am I here? What is my purpose? What am I here for?" It's to learn how to just be at peace and to learn how to, instead of all these rules and regulations, just follow that core value. You've been up since 6 a.m. You've been up for a while. Yeah, I've been up for a while too, and I'm fixing to lay it down too. 3 hours and 23 minutes. But you know, as far as what are your allegiances and the Queen and country. So it might be God and country, or what are your? Do you need any alliances, allegiances, or I think we do to wrap this up, and I think it is where before it was Queen and country and this strong thing. I think it has changed. Where back in the day it was America, and after World War II it was America, and growing up in the 50s during the Korean War it was America, and Vietnam War it was America, and now you don't hear that it's America now. So that which we would cling to as something that we would pledge our allegiance to, now people are not so sure. And I would agree with them. I'm not so sure. You're sending bombs and weapons to the Ukraine and billions of dollars when there are people, Hawaii and in America that could use these resources and such, and where their bombs are being sent to induce more war, and wait a minute. No, I'm sorry, that's not the America I believe in. No, no, no. Didn't we learn our lesson in Vietnam? Didn't we learn our lesson in Iraq and the Sudan? And haven't we learned our lesson? No, apparently not. Because there are too many bombs that are being made and they have to get used. Um, you know, we have too many resources that our military complex built up, and we got to use them someplace. And some of them are already paid for, and we've already put in an order for a dozen more, and we've got a couple of old ones. Well, we yeah, come on. So the America that I believed in back in the day ain't the same one. And so there are a lot of young kids these days who don't even believe I don't think they really understand that their America really isn't what it used to be. What is presently going on ain't what it used to be. I mean, even going back to Bill Clinton, it ain't what it used to be. And going back further than that, like the Ronald Reagan days and stuff, America ain't what it was back in those days, and how we stood up for things and the way we felt. And so, and do you listen to some of these students and some of these town halls and talking about stuff, and they don't know what America is. They don't, because what they see now ain't what it used to be at all. And the way the injustice system is, whether you like Trump or not, this insanity of it's still going on, and they're going to try him in Georgia and all this stuff. And it's like, would you just shut up with it, for crying out loud? Give up on it already, you know? But no. So they have to pursue this. And if now for some reason that shoe was on the other foot, and it was Trump or the Democrats, or I mean the Republicans pursuing Democrats, there'd be bitching and wailing and gnashing of teeth. And it's the injustice, whether he's guilty or not, the fact that they are trying to chew him up continuously on and on and on. If we had done that to any Democrat, if we should be chewing out Joe Biden, we should be chewing out these, if the Republicans really went after Joe Biden now, oh, you're trying to retaliate. There would be such a, oh my God, we'd never hear the end of it. But that's the injustice. And somehow America has turned into that. And hopefully it's going to turn back into something else that we can all be proud of. Because there are a lot of folks ain't proud of what's going on. That's a fact. Regardless of who you want to win or lose, we ain't proud anymore. Not like we used to be. And not like I'd like to be, personally. But I am a Georgian. I'm going to stand up for the South. I am, here in the county, and I am, so, and I am a child of the universe, and I do try to be a Southern gentleman. And so there are certain things that I ascribe to and hope that it fits, you know. So it's been 3 hours and 29 minutes, almost 3:30. So I love you all. I guess I'm just shocked that everyone let it get this far. Absolutely. Well, we had 2 years with the COVID thing, and they're trying it again. We can't let them get away with it again. We can't. Everybody's just got to say no. I remember we went through Tennessee and Kentucky. Nobody was wearing masks. Nobody was worried about it. I talked about it when we got back, about and even folks in, up in Ohio. We went to the Air Force Museum, and there were very few people in there, and that were wearing masks, and it was like, in the restaurants, and it was supposed to be closed down, and we got up there, and it was like we didn't see anything that was really unusual. Few people wearing masks in different places, but mostly everybody was just acting normal. So, you know, I don't think they're going to get away with it this time because of how they acted last time. They're just going to go, you know, it's going to be a silent resistance. People are just not going to comply. They're going to be crazy people, but then, and one of those people was my sister who had breast cancer, and she was like went into a place and the lady behind the counter wasn't wearing a mask, and she goes, I bitched her out, and I said, why? She goes, I told her I just had cancer and you might have COVID and I could catch it from you. And I was like, no, you can't. She goes like, what do you mean? You were the one with the mask. You were the one with the protection. Whether she had COVID or not, you were the one with the mask on. It didn't matter whether she wore one or not. Yeah, but she could have, and yeah, but she could have a lot of things. But you were the one that put yourself at risk by going into the store in the first place. That's number one. And if you were wearing a mask after cancer treatment, then that's your choice. And you shouldn't bitch out the person who's working in the store because you got cancer. But, and I said, honey, just think about what I said. That's all. And she calmed down. She was like, well, I hadn't thought about it that way. And I said, I understand. They've got everybody so hyped up. And the fact that you've had chemo and you had to go to the store and, you know, but you should not bitch out the person behind the counter because the masks don't do any good anyway to the virus. That's the big thing. Do your research before you complain to the person behind the counter. And she got back with me and she was like, well, I didn't know that. And I was like, well, there you go. So, but anyway, I love you all. And I do continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to learn how to accept and receive the knowledge, the healing, the wisdom, and the many blessings from the universe. And wrapping up this session after 3.5 hours, you know, the idea that we have to conform to Queen and Country, that we have to align ourselves, to the America that is now, and that we have to get behind Joe Biden as president, for example, and that we have to follow these. No, we don't. No, we don't. No, we don't. We don't have to get behind an idiot. If Saddam Hussein was our president, would we have to get behind him? You know, if Adolf Hitler was our president, would we have to get behind him? You know, um, if Stalin were our president, would we have to get behind him? No. And we don't have to get behind Biden because in a lot of ways he's like Stalin, you know. He's got his nose over there in the Ukraine where it don't belong. And that was sort of a Stalin thing. But anyway, but I love you all and please be safe, okay? And stuff I talk about, at least consider, you know, and find your own place in the universe. But the thing is that if you have to go to church, then go. But don't feel ashamed if you don't go to church because somebody else thinks you should or wants to push you in that direction. Nah, no. If you're doing the right things and honestly being that decent person, stop worrying about it. Life's too short. So until next time, please be safe. I got cotton mouth and I got 2 more meds I got to take before I go to bed. So I love you. Until next time, be safe. Okay. That's top of the line. Be safe and think for yourself. Have conversations. Bye. Wee.